All right, welcome and thank you for tuning in for another episode of Buff 'em Updates with myself, Big Dog Chico, and Adam Munsterteiger coming in to you live and direct straight from Colorado. We're going to bring you the ins and outs and the updates about what's going on with the Colorado Buffaloes because adjustments are being made for this rivalry game getting ready to go down. Adam, how's it going? Talk to me. Let me know what's shaking.
Well, the Buffs came back, licked their wounds, and now there's another opponent on the horizon. So the good thing, this would be a miserable time to have a bye week. So I'm glad the Buffs can get
Yes.
back to action. And I was thinking back to the pregame show we did before the Nebraska game, and I'm down on the field, and everything is so optimistic, and all the things I shared pretty much did not come true. So apologies to those folks that tuned into that segment. But yeah, it's good to get back and CSU made this a rivalry once again. So that's
Yeah.
also fun.
Well, we're here to talk about, we got injuries, we got adjustments being made, of course. We got the rivalry game coming up off of the Nebraska game that you just mentioned, and where everything went wrong. I was wrong, of course, too. I thought we could establish a run. I thought we could, execute in the quick game. I thought we could protect Shador Sanders. We did none of those things consistently, and we even had a uncharacteristic pick six thrown by Shador. So a lot of things went wrong in that game. Levante Bentley had a pick he could have been still running with right now, but so it's just one of those days. But one thing is, like you said, you don't have that bye week, but you have the little brother, so to speak, to go back and beat up on up there with Colorado State. So a road game for the Buffs. Haven't been there in a long time. Do you know the history on that? What was the history? Haven't been there since what?
1996 is the last time that
96.
Colorado has played in Fort Collins. Yeah, they were scheduled to play at Canvas Stadium, which they built here pretty recently in 2020, but
Yeah.
obviously COVID canceled that. So this is the first time playing at this new stadium, and then they're not going to play the Rams for 5 years after this. I think the next game
Right.
is. I know that the next game against them is 2029. So
Right.
yeah, this is kind of like Nebraska, and I hate to bring this up, but had you won that game, you've got this long winning streak against the Cornhuskers for the foreseeable future. They were
Mhm.
unable to do that. Now you look at the Rocky Mountain Showdown, you've won 6 in a row against the Rams. You got to win on Saturday, not just for this season, but just out here in Colorado, it's going to be insufferable for
Right.
CU fans if they can't get this win on Saturday, because you're going to have a long time until you'll get another chance at them.
Yeah, they'll have bragging rights for about 5 years. That's a long
Yeah.
time to suffer a loss, and just to be dwelling on it. But they got some players over there, the guys who made some plays last year, and Nicolosi and Horton, and they've also been in the news with some of the comments they've been making, talking about we owe Colorado basically, and they got away from us last year. It was basically saying that it was a fluke. They were supposed to put the whipping on the Buffs last year. Uh, do you see? And also, it's been told that Coach Prime made sure that every player on the team saw these comments so that they can understand the mindset that CSU is coming in with, and maybe they could change their mindset and know that they need to come in with a more serious mindset also to play this rivalry game.
What was always said about this rivalry from Colorado fans was that this was Colorado State's Super Bowl. This is long
Right.
before Shador Sanders' comments at Big 12 Media Day about how this year's Buffaloes are everybody's Super Bowl. And I think that's certainly played out here early on in the season. I mean, I've never seen an atmosphere like they had at Nebraska before. They were geared up and fired up. That was their Super Bowl, and now they'll go on and try to do what they can this season. But that was kind of the feeling about this rivalry in the past, even when Coach Prime was not leading the Buffaloes. This was a rivalry where Colorado and CU fans said, why do we even schedule these guys? Because if
Yeah.
we beat them, we were supposed to. If we lose to them, the sky is falling. It was kind of a lose-lose type deal, when you
Yeah.
look at that from an in-state factor. But I think because of Henry Blackburn's hit last year and the comments made by Jay Norvell, and now we've got these comments from the CSU players on the current squad
It's kind of
that
revving up on.
it it feels like more of a rivalry from CU side than it really ever has. You
Mm,
know, it kind of felt like that last year, but it was more just because of Jay Norvell's comments and the
yeah.
fact that Fox Big Noon Kickoff was on campus and in College Game Day and all of that, and the fact that they were undefeated. So, but this year it really feels more personal than anything because of that Henry Blackburn hit, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so also because the players have the history. And then Blackburn, isn't he from Boulder? Also, I think he's from Boulder. So he has, those Boulder ties and roots to where he probably feels a certain way. So yes, a lot of more personal issues going on between the lines in this ball game. But I'll say this, going back to what you said about them even playing each other, you turn me up some in the microphone. And make sure y'all join the conversation too. Get in the chat and join the conversation with your comments and your questions. But I'll say this: it reminds me of uh, being from Alabama. It reminds me of like Alabama, University of Alabama, and Auburn not really playing the Troy universities or UAB or any other school in the state. They will only play each other because they feel like if I'm Alabama and I play UAB, you know, and I lose, it's a lose lose. They're going to be getting recruits if we lose, and if we win, we're supposed to win. We would rather take that chance with a school from way over and go play ball Northwestern State, or the Citadel, because they're going to win that game. But if they happen to lose, I think it won't be giving too much like an in-state brother or sister school. It won't be giving them that extra exposure and extra recruits. I think that's the reason why Alabama or Auburn doesn't play Troy or UAB, and maybe that's the reason why a lot of people don't want Colorado to even take the chance and play a Colorado State. But
Well, I've covered Colorado recruiting for about 21 years now. CU does not really lose a lot of recruits to CSU. If I mean, I could probably count on one hand. I don't even know if I would get to two on that number. I
wow,
think it comes down to, hey, do you have ties to CSU? That would be the only reason that you'd go up there. And no offense to Fort Collins, I live actually closer to Fort Collins than I do Boulder, and I like going up there. It's a good date night place with your wife, and
yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
I enjoy Fort Collins. There's nothing against that, and Horsetooth Reservoir is maybe the coolest place in Colorado. But from a football side, you're not picking to live or to play at CSU over CU, even when CU's been down, honestly. So I don't think that's it. I think it's a game where they care so much, and it's you got to muster this fake energy towards CSU most years if you're Colorado.
Right.
But the Rams, to Colorado's advantage here the last couple of years, have provided bulletin board material. If you're CSU, just shut your mouth because you want to try to catch this team off guard. You don't want to have them going in there angry. And the last 2 years, I would say that's a big failure by Jay Norvell, is having Colorado really being able to absorb this rivalry because you have people running their mouth.
Yeah. I think so also. But hey, man, we'll see what goes down on Saturday. I think it should be exactly what we're all expecting on paper, or what it looks like on paper, which is I don't think they have the same amount of talent that they had last year with the defensive end, Namara or Kamara
Mhm.
gone to the league
Yep.
now. I don't know if they have a guy that's replacing him, and maybe somebody's listening and they're like, "Okay, I'm gonna be that guy. And I'm gonna go show him." But they don't have it on paper right now. So if we can use this game, and I won't say tune up, but a way to get in rhythm, so to speak, on the offensive line, however that shakes out. Defensive line, we got to talk about that with Chidozie being out. And at the safety spot with Shiloh being out, two guys in the middle of that defense are out of the game this week. Hayden being out at the running back. We got a lot of positions where we need the guys to step up and show what they can do. Right now is the time. Yes, we are live. Whoever checking in, yes, we are live. Y'all could join the conversation. I just put it in the chat. I'm going to pin it to the top to where you can join this conversation. Come on for 30 seconds to a minute. Ask you a question to myself or Adam, and then we'll get to it as fast as we can. Or you can just put it in the chat like this. Bring on the other running back. I like Charlie, but he is not a starter, is what Linda Brooks said. Adam said, I can't believe we lost Edwards, Hankerson, and McCaskill. I think the guys that we have back there can show improve as we go back to the running back spot now. Dalen Hayden out of the game, Adam. Who do you expect to get the most carries this week?
But to go back to that comment, I think Hankerson would be a nice piece on this team, but I don't think McCaskill's kind of buried on the depth chart at ASU. So
that's sad.
It really is. You hope he can come back from that knee injury at some point and really be the player that we all expected. In terms of Saturday's game, August Dave and Michael Welch, hopefully. I wouldn't even be surprised if you see some Draylon Miller playing a little bit out of the backfield. We saw him have 2 carries in that season opener. They just really like his playmaking ability. And I there was the whole controversy with Shedeur Sanders' pick 6, and he was kind of the targeted receiver on that play. But I think that he is a guy that can help his offense as well. I kind of wish Cam Michael was healthy, because his footage as a running quarterback in high school was pretty elite stuff.
Yes.
And, he might be up there with Jimmy Horn as one of the fastest guys on this entire team. So unfortunately, he's not part of the mix. So I know Coach Flea likes kind of that 2-man rotation.
Mm-hmm.
It's not against Charlie. Nobody wants to root against Charlie Offerdahl, but in those short yardage situations, you've obviously got to change up. And I think if you're at home, you're going to throw your remote at the TV if you see him line up and run in a short yardage situation again. I think you got to put him in a situation where he's set to be successful, right? And I think somebody like Augustov runs forward. He's a downhill runner, and you saw a little bit of that. I think he had 2 carries late there against Nebraska. That was something that stood out to me in that open practice down in Denver, was just that even when the hole wasn't there, you always saw his momentum moving forward. And I think he's kind of what the doctor ordered for this offense right now.
Yeah, a fall forward type back. Bigger body. Seemed like a patient runner. I like what he can bring. I think he'll be hungry and to really show what he can contribute to this team. Same thing with Michael Welch, but it starts at the offensive line. Regardless, they can have some anybody back there. You're not going to block and open up holes for them. Or same thing on the offensive side as far as play calling. If you're not going to be creative in the play calling, then it's going to be tough for anybody to get some yardage on 4th and 2. With that being said, I think we need to see, and I say this all the time, every week. I feel like a broken tape recorder, or
broken record.
Like a broken record. That's what it is. Old school record, right? Broken record. Saying over and over again that I think we need to see some jet sweeps, man. We need to see some misdirection, some sideline to sideline type plays and fakes and actions called to spread out this defense, to open up those gaps from the motions, because it naturally happens, and it can give Shedeur Sanders a peek into what the defense is running. Now you can see whether they're in man with a simple motion. It doesn't have to be across the formation. It could be from outside the numbers to inside the numbers, or the inside the slot or whatever, and that can show you whether you're running man or not. It can displace a linebacker. It can make guys just think. That's what I want to see when we're trying to run plays that's going to gas the defense. We need to have this running game going, and I'm looking to see Isaiah Augustov get going.
And this is, like to your point, this is the week to get that on track, right? I don't know if it's not to say Colorado State doesn't have talented guys on their front. Like they do. But when you look at the schedule for Colorado, it's not dramatic in terms of this. You're going to be a heavy underdog this game. You're going to be a huge favorite this game. It's a little bit closer, more condensed in that fashion. Yeah. Last week in Nebraska is probably, if Colorado continues to do well, outside of Utah, is maybe the game where you're the biggest underdog. in this week right now, until Colorado gets things going, is going to be the biggest spread they're going to see in their favor. And this is when you have to step up. You're coming off a loss. There's no lack for motivation, and
Mm-hmm.
you need to see that offensive line not be dominant, but even better than they were against NDSU for you to feel good about that unit going forward.
Yes, most definitely. They have to, and we have to see what's the unit's going to be, the shakeup, the combination is going to be. Will Tyler Brown stay at the right tackle? Everybody's talking about it. So will Tyler Brown stay at the right tackle, a position that he previously didn't play at Jackson State, and we know he didn't play at all last year. And when we did see him practicing or playing, it has been inside at guard. And Khalil Benson, just the opposite. We've been seeing him play at the tackle spot from Indiana, but we know that he has experience at guard also, and maybe he preferred to play guard. Hank Zielinski's had a few problems last week with the bull rush, getting pushed back, but will CSU defensive tackles be as good as Big Nash and Ty? I don't think so, and you don't seem to think so either. So this would be a game that they can find a way to mesh and to play their best right here, and maybe they can build off of it going into conference play, playing CSU. Justin Mayers has to step up also, and Jordan Seaton has been pretty good, but I think we've seen some of the freshman pains from last week versus Nebraska, but I think his arrow is pointing up, as Uncle Neely would say, and I think we'll be okay. Still got some guys we haven't seen on the offensive line, like Cordell Thomas, like Big Tyler Johnson, and two guys who were highly rated coming out of high school and in the transfer portal. So maybe we'll see them step in. If the starters have a problem, we shall see. Y'all join the conversation. Let us know what you think. Get in the comments right now. Leave a question or a comment yourself, or you can click the invite button and come on for about 30 seconds to a minute and ask your question before we get up out of here. We're going to go to a few injuries now, Adam.
Wait, real quick. What about
Okay,
Philip
okay.
Houston? What about Philip
Oh,
Houston maybe going in at right tackle? What
Big
do you think
Phil
about that?
Houston. If Phil comes in, then that means that Tyler will be coming out, and will he just be off the field? Will you move Tyler to right guard, and Khalil Benson comes out? Who knows? But the next guy up, do you think it will be Philip Houston, or do you think we will shake up another spot? Do you think Philip is the next guy up on the offensive
Well,
line?
it's just funny because we got some detectives on the case, and they get those screenshots, and and then I get tagged, and it's like, well, Philip Houston's at right tackle with the first team today, and it's like,
Yeah,
okay, it makes you think about the different scenarios. We'll see how it plays out on Saturday, but no, I think Tyler Brown you want to keep out there. It's kind of like the Charlie Offerdahl and short yardage situations. I don't know if that really suits his strengths, and so I think Tyler Brown moving into one of the guard spots, I think he'd be pretty successful there, honestly.
yeah. Someone said, another detective said Tyler Brown is at left guard. So that's a lot of shakeup right there. Go from right tackle to left guard, and now he's saying Mayers is out of the lineup. So we don't know
It
how
sounds
true
like
that is.
Justin
I mean,
Mayers is dealing with some type of minor injury right now.
oh,
So we'll
okay.
see.
So see,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying right there. So if the shakeup, it just depends where the shakeup is on the offensive line, because you have so many moving pieces and guys who've played in so many different positions. I think it's just about putting guys in their natural spot. So let's say if Mayers is out, who would be the next guy up at the guard position? Well, let's say one of the starters who had trouble at the right tackle, let's move Tyler Bryant back inside where we think he'll be best at anyway, whether it's right or left guard. Now the next tackle up would be, I guess, Houston, or the next option would be to slide Benson out and bring in another guard who would be ahead of Houston. Who would that be? Would that be Big Zach Owens or someone? We don't know. But
Kareem Harden probably.
Kareem Harden from last year, but
Everybody's waiting on Tyler Johnson, but I don't know. I don't know how you felt about Coach Prime's response there, but I wouldn't expect him to start on Saturday.
he didn't seem very confident, or is what you're saying, or what do you think about his comments?
Well, he just said that he's coming, but it wasn't like, he said that's a Coach Phil question. Yeah, Tyler Johnson was hurt through spring ball and just kind of got behind the eight ball. But that's a name working. If the offensive line continues to struggle, I don't think they will to the extent they did at Nebraska. Like you mentioned, the
Yeah.
interior of Nebraska's defensive line is among the best in the country. So if Colorado's offensive line gets in on track, then maybe we don't even think about Tyler Johnson. But every week that the O line does struggle, I think then you're going to think about Tyler Johnson
You
because
know
of
what?
what he did at Houston and
Yeah.
some of the stuff he did there.
I'm not sure the injury he had this spring, but I would say this: being such a big fella like he is, and been playing and been around some of them big, extra huge fellas like that, I think maybe coaches are taking him slow to where he can get back into shape, into the playing shape that they want him to be in. Maybe that's the issue. Maybe he's playing a little bit slower than what they are wanting because of him having to work himself back into game shape. I don't know. We'll see. But if he's not playing there, but his talent level is here and his PFF grade is here, I think that could be the only reason. They're saying that they might not be confident in his either his conditioning or his work in the film room, in the meeting rooms and stuff. So is it the playbook that he's not learning, or is it physicalness? I would bet on probably, I hate to say it, but I probably bet on the physicalness as far as being not in the shape that they're expecting right now, and he's probably working to that. And maybe that's what Coach Prime mean that he's coming along. But we shall see. That's just my educated, estimated guess, so to speak. But Chidozie Nwankwo, a big piece in that middle from last game, made some plays. Probably one of the shining spots on that defense as far as individual play goes. But he'll be out this week, expected to be out this week with an AC joint shoulder injury. Something that you just can't easily play through is going to be painful. And with him being in that middle, taking on those blocks, is something that it'll probably be best for him to sit out this game. So you're going to have some guys step up in his spot. Talk to me about some of the guys you're expecting to play some ball this week at D tackle. Yes.
Well, Anquin Barnes had kind of a rough first game back from his injury,
Yeah.
but this is a guy that was really successful in practice, and maybe you get those kinks out of the way and he can kind of man that middle a little bit. He's a guy that I know that they really expect to be a big time player in this program. Tawfiq Thomas and I don't know, Torian Carter, I guess you throw in there in the middle as well. Chidozie Nwankwo has a pretty special skill set. He's a former wrestler and kind of outperforms his size at times. Now you kind of go to more of the traditional big guy in there, I think. And so those are the three names that first come to mind. What about you?
Yeah. Unfortunately, Big Ant Quinn had those 2 penalties last week. Uh, I think he could bounce back from that this week, but he is the prototype that you would like to have there. With his size and strength and stuff. Can he step up and play and have that motor? We shall see. I hope so. Torian Carter, Ryan Buell, who we didn't see last game, maybe he could step up. Shane Cokes in that middle. We have pieces, but we just need them to play up to the level that we're expecting. Tawfiq Thomas, you got a nice rotation there at the defensive line, defensive tackle spot. They just need to step up and play up to their talent level. Shout out to Amari McNeil too. He had a couple good plays last week. Maybe he can be that guy. And if Torian Carter is hurt, then that's another guy that might be out. So defensive line, at least I can say this year, I'm more excited about and the depth on that defensive line and expect them to not miss too much of a beat if these guys can step up and play to their potential.
We talked all offseason, preseason with these transfer additions about how deep this how deep this defensive line is. And so this is the time it's got to show up. You got a couple guys banged up, and that's a good thing about now as opposed to last year. And I talked about this with the O-line as well, that you at least have some other pieces to look to, right? To try out in these spots. Whereas I think a year ago, you kind of had what you had, and when certain things didn't work out, especially on the O-line, you were screwed. And so this
Right.
year you've at least got that depth, and it's got to show itself now.
Well, it definitely needs to show itself. Hopefully, Horton over there with the groin injury, the soft tissue injury. Hopefully, he doesn't. I'll say this. I'm not gonna say hopefully he's hurt. I'll say hopefully he feels a little twitch and he says I don't want to push it too much, and he sits out, and then we can concentrate on their other receivers. But I asked the question on DNVR. I was in their comments and I said, "Do you think Travis Hunter should travel, which means follow Torrey Horton, uh, back and forth across the field throughout the game, or should he just play in his position, let DJ cover him sometimes, or what? How do you feel like we should handle Horton on the other side?"
I think given that he's not 100%, even if he's suited up, he just is not going to be, and not going to have that burst that you would expect Torrey Horton to. I think
Yeah,
for this game, given those circumstances, you don't really worry about that as much. Now, if Torrey Horton goes crazy on you, then all of a sudden, as we've seen, Robert Livingston needs to make some adjustments, and I would assume that would happen. But DJ McKinney's played pretty well,
yeah,
early
he
on this
has.
season. He's lived up to the hype, and so I would not be worried about following him around, partly because Torrey Horton's hurt, and also because I think McKinney is very capable of doing it.
Yeah. Shiloh had a big pick six last game versus Colorado State, and he said it came from film study. Basically, he won't be in this game. We need the safety that's going to be stepping up in his spot, Carter Stockmeyer, to be on that film and study, and maybe he can come up with a big pick like Shiloh did last year. But he played pretty well versus Nebraska. I'm excited to see him in the ball game now. Cameron Silman Craig, along with Herman Smith III and Savion Riley, we should see getting some ticks back there at the safety spot. Uh, Talk to me about the safeties from your view.
Coach Prime said that Carter Stoutmeyer is the future, and I do think he is a future NFL guy in terms of just the versatility that he brings. He had maybe the highlight of Colorado's open practice, playing cornerback, coming fresh off an injury, or not fresh off an injury, but he had worked his way back, and it was one of his first practices really being full go, where he broke on a ball that looked like Will Shepherd was going to catch in the end zone. Had a nice PBU. He's a well-rounded running back to be a true sophomore. Now he's going to have, like we saw maybe at that Arizona State game where the coaches were telling him, don't give that up, and they scored a touchdown on him. He's going to learn from those moments, but generally, he and Jaden Milner-Jones were guys I came out of last season going, but they really did a great job recruiting defensive backs out of that first high school recruiting class that Coach Prime had. And I haven't followed Milner-Jones at SMU, but he and Stoutmeyer, to me, look like in a couple of years are going to be getting picked at some point in that NFL draft.
Yeah, that would have been a hell of a combination to have back there. Two young safeties who could really fly around from the great state of Texas. Um, um, 20, 25 total carries from our running backs in the last two games. Can we up that? Can we eclipse that total in one game versus CSU this week coming up? Do you think we'll have 25 total carries this week? Yes or no? Over under.
I can't answer it just with a one-word answer here. I've
Okay.
got to say, can they do that? Can they do that? They can. Will they do that? I don't know.
I think they should shoot for it. At least try, to get to that 20 carry mark, because I just think it'd make things so much easier for Shador and the offensive line to attempt to carry the ball against a team that you should be able to carry the ball on. You know, let's get things going on this team. Let's take all of the you can keep some emotions, but let's take all of the outside emotions out of this. Let's come in here and say we got to play our game. We're going to perfect our game. We're not looking towards Baylor, but this is going to be something that we're looking to build off of to know that we can put this in the playbook for Baylor. We
Mhm.
have these running styles, formations and stuff, and personnel that we can use. I'll ask you this question. Coach Prime mentioned having a tight end taken out of the game or moved to fullback and bringing another offensive lineman to block at the tight end spot. I've always raised my hand on this and said, if you're not going to use a tight end in the passing game, why not use an offensive lineman as that extra blocker out there? What do you feel about that?
We saw that last year. Remember, Hank Zielinskis got a lot of his reps actually playing kind of a jumbo tight end situation. And they brought in Bishop Thomas in some of those situations at fullback. I think I was doing some yard work listening to DNVR, and they had somebody that was suggesting that maybe you could put Levonta Bentley at fullback and open up some holes. Whatever you need to do, Chico, and when it's 4th and 1, whatever personnel you have on your roster that can get that yard, you got to do it. It is to me. To me, it is a little bit of a signal of a failure with tight end recruiting if you've got to do that, though, because you should have that tight end that can do it, as opposed to having to go to an offensive lineman. But if Savell Smalls is not up to that, or Sam Hart, then yeah, absolutely, you've got to do whatever you can to win these football games. I don't know who would be your suggestion as kind of that 6th offensive lineman to put out there in that situation.
Well, let's just look for this week, and we got a caller waiting in the back. Let's just say we're looking at this week, right? And we've already talked about the offensive line, and I'm going to go through it real quick. If you got Jordan Seaton, Tyler Brown at left guard, Hank Zielinskis at center, Khalil Benson at the right guard, and Philip Houston at the right tackle, then I'm going to go and say, okay, first of all, we're going to put it on the board and see who can understand it, because it's not just going out there blocking anybody or blocking the man in front of you. I can raise my hand and say that as from the tight end spot. You're going to have to understand the scheme and who to block and who you're double teaming on or who you're working up to. The guy who can do that, then that's who I'm going to look for to put there, whether that's the guy with the most talent, like I think Cordell Thomas, or even Tyler Johnson, put him out there to get some reps and say, when we put you in, you know that you do this, why not put in Tyler and Cordell, get them some reps and see what they do. That's what I would do.
I like it. Yeah, those are 2 good names to consider there for sure.
Yeah, I went all the way around the block to get there, but we got there. You know what I mean? We got a caller coming in right here. Best man, I'm going to give you 30 seconds or either 1 Minute, 1 minute to state your question or your comment. Here we go. Make sure you turn your your audio down in the background, though. I feel like I'm on a radio station back in the day. Caller, turn your radio down. Here we go.
First time, long time.
Yeah. Greetings to you, Chico and Adam.
Much love.
And
let us know where you're calling from too.
Washington, D.C.
All right, D.C. All right.
And I guess I got a question for you guys, because y'all are more in tune with the CU program and what's going on behind the scenes, etc. I mean, do you guys know of any run schemes that we can look forward to this week that we have not seen in the previous week that you can divulge?
If I did, I probably couldn't give it away now, because who knows who's listening, who's watching.
True that.
I would say this: if I was the coach, I would definitely be using some big packages. I would use those extra offensive linemen for the reason that I just said right there, to get them some reps in there, because we haven't seen any other offensive linemen. I'm sure they're on the sideline wanting to hit somebody. So, hey,
let them
big packages. I got 6, 7 offensive linemen on the field, 1 tight end in the backfield to run the ball. We're going straight ahead. That's what I would do in some cases, but also I would run some jet sweeps and some sideline to sideline stuff to open it up. Adam, what you think?
Well, Coach Flea mentioned at the Buffalo Bells and Friends Luncheon, which is a group that meets in the Champion Center once a week, a group of, I guess you would call them donors. Coach Flea said that they are indeed going to do exactly what you're talking about, Chico. They're not going to run in these short yardage situations out of shotgun. the way that they have. It just is not a recipe for success. And so I think you'll see that change in short yardage situations. What does the ground game look like in other scenarios? That part I don't quite know. That is going to be interesting to see. Like we talked about earlier in the show, I think this weekend in Fort Collins is a good time to try to really hone in on that and get that part of the game corrected. We've had, again, going back to detectives, we've had folks on our message board really breaking down the RPO and talking about how it just doesn't work if Shedeur Sanders is not a true threat to run the football. And so I think what we're talking about here, Chico, is just trying to go to more of a traditional approach running the football.
Put him under the center, coach. Put him under the center. Best man, we appreciate you checking in, calling in from Washington, D.C. We got Buffs 4L just called in with a question. You got 30 seconds. Let me know where you're calling in from. Oh, you got on mute. Let me go. Let me know your name, where you're calling in from. Well, we just lost you, but we thought you was back there. Let me see what Travis said. I get it, bro. Let's see if the staff makes the changes and effort to run the football. Real quick, Adam, you said something about the RPOs and Shedeur not being really a threat to run the football. So why even do it? And that's the thing. Any defensive coach is telling their defensive end who you're not blocking on those plays, who the quarterback is reading, he's telling the defensive end to crash down on the running back. Don't even play the quarterback. And if the quarterback does run, we feel like we can adjust and make the tackle on him. So I think that's null and void once, especially in short yardage. Also, I would like to see some pistol formation to where the running back is directly behind Shedeur Sanders, and now he could turn either way, and it's not so predictable of where we're going. Also,
definitely,
that's what I would like to see. So we had a couple callers. If you want to try to get it in, we can take one more before we get up out of here. But Adam, in the meantime, let them know where they can find all of your exclusive and amazing, insightful content right now.
Head to buffstampede.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. We're trying to cover this from all angles. And next week, we got to get into some recruiting coverage because it sounds like the Buffs are going to have some recruits on campus for that Baylor game, the homecoming game, first game back in the Big 12. So that should be a lot of fun. And we got you covered on X at AdamCM777.
AdamCM777 on Twitter. Also, you can follow myself on Twitter at BiggDogg Chico, or you can type in my football name, my government name, Chico Cleveland, on there, and you can find me. You can find me also. New content continuing to drop. Look out for us on the Bleacher Report, BR Creators, on there where we do the midweek update live of the Colorado Buffaloes, myself and Brian. Also, each Sunday night with Uncle and Chico, myself and Uncle Neely. Also, stay tuned with Buffum updates, myself and Adam, of course. Robert just checked in. We're going to get a question real quick. Eins Minutens. Let me know where you're calling in from and what's your name. Robert.
Hey, this is Robert. Yeah, this is
so
Robert.
that is your name. I know sometimes y'all have different names on there, so I always got to ask anyway.
Yeah,
Robert, where you from?
That's my government name. I'm in Atlanta.
All right, ATL checking in. What's happening? What's your question or your comment?
My comment is this. I listen. I love what Coach Prime is doing over there in Colorado. First of all, and I know there's a lot of fans out there right now who don't understand the process. And they're, what I'm hearing is a lot of complaining and moaning and everything else. There's a lot of work to be done in that program, and it's been down for a long time, and you're not going to get it in a year and a half. It's just not going to happen. You need to slow down and pump the brakes, because if Coach Prime had taken the normal course of recruiting, okay, he wouldn't have even won 5 games probably right now. All right. You got to slow down. You got to give it time. Yes, you're going. There's some things you're not going to like, but you got to give it some time. You get down the road 3-4 years, and he hasn't proven himself. All right, quick. That's okay then. But right now, if you expect to win, you're going to have to give it a little bit of time. Can't turn around a program in a year. Just not possible. Just want to say that.
All right,
Thank you.
appreciate you, Robert from the ATL. Y'all can check in the chat. Let me know what y'all think about his comments. Adam, what you feel about that?
Yeah, there's no question that a second-year head coach going into Game 3 should not be under the microscope that Coach Prime Sanders is under. I think that's a fair point that he made for sure. The other side of it is Shedeur Sanders is going to be the first quarterback that's drafted out of Colorado since 1997. Travis Hunter is maybe the most unique player, one of the most unique players I've seen in college football. And so you're trying to maximize that eligibility and try to squeeze that potential, around those guys. And part of being able to build through the portal is that those guys are supposed to step in and be solid from day one. Now, a lot of national folks kind of warned me initially and said, you can build through the portal at skill positions. It's really tough to do in the trenches just because you have talented offense and defensive linemen that go into their college program. And if they're successful, they see a trajectory to get drafted, and there's no reason for them to leave. They're doing well where they are. And so the pool of talent in the trenches is shallow compared to the skill positions. And so that's made it more challenging. Now you look at the resume of the guys they brought in, though, on both the offense and defensive lines for Colorado. And these guys, a lot of them did really well at their previous stop. When you look at guys like BJ Green and Dayon Hayes, and you look at what Shane Cokes and Amari McNeil did last season, and they're returning. And so the pieces, Chico, are there for this to be a successful winning team in year 2. But to the caller's point, it is tough to see the level of criticism this early in a coaching tenure, whereas usually guys are given a little bit more time. But I'm kind of talking out of both sides of my mouth. But I guess my
Now you make sense though.
Yeah, my end though here is that this is a talented enough Colorado football team to do well and to win 7, 8, 9 games. And so if the expectations fall in to Colorado being a bowl team this year, I think those expectations are fair.
Yeah, and everything you said, I think is right on with the Shedeur Sanders. Here's the thing: what the caller said was the traditional route, and then maybe you can go to the transfer portal. Well, I think you when you come in with a Shedeur Sanders and a Travis Hunter with you as a coach, it's time to try to win right now, dog. And I think they took the right approach. But as Adam said, you're just not going to find the meat and potatoes in the transfer portal, I think, as much as you want to within that time frame. You know what I'm saying? It's just not as many players there. And the ones that are there that fits that mold, they're getting gobbled up by the big schools because they can really pay now also, but also because of the tradition that they have and the guys getting drafted and such. I think Coach Prime took the right approach by going heavy in the transfer portal. That's what made them competitive last year. That's what made them lose those games only by a couple of scores here and there. Only 2 blowouts last year. I think that's why, because of that reason. And the way that he's doing it, I think, there's no other way. After these guys leave, after Shedeur is gone, after Travis is gone, now even this year you saw it. He's digging more into the high school ranks, and I think next year and moving forward, you get a guy like a Juju Lewis or a top quarterback in 2026. I like the kid 6'5", and I know he's throwing a name out there, 6'5" out of Texas, 2026 or 2026, right? KK Johnson, the son of former defensive tackle Spencer Johnson. He's throwing the ball around out there, and his mascot name is the Buffs out of Texas. So I think he'll be a guy to go after. But if you get you a marquee quarterback, is what I'm trying to say, then you can really build around him with these high school guys. But as of right now, I think Coach Prime took the right approach, and that's just what it is. That's what making them competitive right now. Buffs for L, we finally got you on. Let me know your name and where you're calling from.
My name Rico. I'm from DC, right? You
Oh,
guys
now
can
Rico.
All right, so I coach ball also. I coach on the middle school level and I coach some high school. I think that I don't think that the players are the problem. I think it's they Colorado have a good problem. They have so many athletes. And one thing I never could understand, because I dealt with this problem with my kids at one point, the parents would complain, you guys have all these athletes, but not it's only one football. Easy solution. Get an exotic playbook. Get some trickery going around. Think about it. If you get some trickery going around, you don't have Draylon complaining. You don't have Omari complaining. You have everybody. But I think this whole ideology, I think the playbook is what's wrong with them. Because I think that I was telling somebody at the beginning of the season, like, I think that Colorado, and this is no exaggeration, I think Colorado had the best receiving room in the country. But we'll never really be able to see it if people ain't getting a chance. Easy way you get these first downs that you can't get, you get in the wildcat formation. You have somebody you have somebody coming across in motion. You know, trickery, get the trickery going on. You see what killed us? What makes North Dakota State so good? They move. You don't know where the ball is going.
Misdirection. You don't know where the ball
Misdirection.
is
You
going.
don't know where the ball is going. So I know that these guys are more professional than I am with the coaching. But if I can think this, like, yo, I gotta find a way to get all my players the ball. I'm not understanding why it's not registering to them, because we have too many players. And the harsh reality, my biggest fear with it all is like, we have all of these talented skill players. And the real reality is, if you're not playing these players and they're not getting the ball,
Uh-oh. You cut out there. I think your minute went up, but we appreciate you. But you're exactly right. If you're not getting your skill guys the ball, then what's good of having them, right? What type of formation would you like to see on offense and things of that nature? And what you think about that call, Adam?
Well, I'm all about trickeration. That's always fun, but you just go back to the season opener, Chico. That they spread the ball around. You know, if they're executing and they're protecting Shador Sanders, then everybody gets to eat. It's not like you got to. I don't think you have to get exotic with this talent. It's an execution issue, and it starts up front with that offensive line if they're doing a good job. And again, I love the caller in his input there, but they're 1-1. It's not time to completely throw the script out the window. It's time to see if they can bounce back this weekend and get better protection for Shador. But yeah, in that opener, they spread the ball around, and that's what you see. But then you go to Nebraska, and first ball gets tipped. What happens on the second ball? LeJohntay Wester drops the ball. You know,
what if those are
that's
catches? That is a different ball game. Might be a different narrative, right?
Yeah, and so you're talking about making trick plays, but you know, if these guys can't execute simple plays right now, I mean that's what they got to get fixed.
You know what?
You know?
And he talked about coaching youth football and doing that. That what you just said right there was my thing. I used to say this. Listen, we're not going to do any reverses or any trick plays if you can't get a handoff, simple handoff. I'll run a 24-25 dive on you all the way downfield if we're going to keep the ball and not put it on the ground. That's what we're going to have to do to earn a trick play. But for these guys, for these college guys, what I would like to see Coach Pat Sherman do is let's tighten the formation up some. Let's bring in bunch formation. That helps the offensive line. That helps Shador Sanders. Let's run some of these crossing routes. We can still go full wide. One run, we run a crossing route with some deep routes on that. And that way we have, a hot or a bailout for Shador if the rush is getting to him. Trickery, yeah, but execution more. Scheme, I think defenses can prepare more and anticipate more if you're just doing 4 and 5 wide and the quarterback is standing back there and it's all on him and the offensive line to protect him to make the read. I think that's what people are kind of getting frustrated with when it doesn't work, because we're getting beat on things that are just simple. Rollouts on a QB, simple. Crossing routes, the simplest plays, it seems like some of the stuff we're having problems with. And then we're trying to execute, in some cases, some of the 5 and 7 step drops. I think it can be improved on. I don't think we need to throw it out the window, but it's all about execution, as you said. So You want to leave the callers with anything? That's the last caller we're going to take right now. We're going to get ready to close this thing out.
Well, I'm looking forward to getting up to Fort Collins. It's going to be a pretty intense environment. I expect it not to be quite as intense as what we saw at Nebraska last weekend, but you know, I'll be honest. There's going to be some nerves going into that game. This is a big football game. Colorado needs to find a way to win this, otherwise, the negativity will reach a fever pitch. And but I don't think that'll be the case. I think Colorado will bounce back and have a performance that these fans have been clamoring for.
You know what? I kind of think it's easier, not easier, but I think it's good for them to be going on the road this week and to be playing up there in Fort Collins after coming from Nebraska. But it's going to be a stark difference to me, I think. And I wasn't even at Nebraska, but I can imagine being around. Well, I've played in front of 90,000+, so I know what it's like to play in that environment. And then you go into a smaller stadium, right? There's going to be a lot of people there, but a smaller, less hostile environment to where you can say, okay, we're not too far from home. Travel wasn't too bad. These guys want to beat us. We know we got to come play. We have to have the mindset of this is our Super Bowl too. Every game is going to be your Super Bowl because they're playing it like their Super Bowl. So you might as well come in with that mindset also. And I think from here on out, that's what they'll do. And perfect scenario for them to beat the brakes off of Colorado State up at their home. I think that's what's going to happen. We're going to see Horton on the sideline with an ice pack. I'm already calling it real quick. Horton on the sideline with an ice pack on his groin with a sad face on by the fourth quarter. Nicolosi pulled out of the game because he already threw more picks than what he needed to, and he probably got hit many times, so he's out of the game. And Colorado is already up 42-21, and that's going to be the ball game. All right, that's my prediction. Let me know what y'all think. Get in the comments. We appreciate you joining us for another episode on Buff 'em Updates. Big Dog talking all the time. Adam, we appreciate you, man. He already let y'all know where to follow him at. Y'all know where to follow me at. Get in the comments and get in the description and hit the links. And we'll be back for more, man. Buff 'em Updates. Buff 'em Updates. We're going to be up and about this thing. Peace in the Middle East. Yeah. Appreciate you, Adam.